computer is also.
There we go. Okay, we are
Okay.
recording. We just got Michael back.
Oh. All of a sudden, it started.
All right, so somebody probably has a cell phone or something extra going on.
Yeah, it's probably.
Probably make it because we only hear that echo. No. You have both things on, Mickey?
Did it just go away? Ooh.
Somebody maybe muted it.
Oh, because it's on the cell phone.
You have two
Maybe
of
that
them
did it.
open.
Yeah.
Yes, they have one. Mike is muted too.
All right, so we have 7 participants. We have 1 attendee. Let's see who that is. Oh, Mickey's also an attendee. So we have Mickey twice. So we have Geraldo, Pat, Michael, and Mickey. So we have 4, and we have Telesco. So welcome to everybody. We can start the meeting when everyone wants. We just lost Mickey. Hold on. Mickey, can you hear us? All right, so now we're down to 3. So we don't have a quorum right now. So we gotta
Okay.
wait.
So I have to wait. Maybe he's trying the laptop,
Yeah.
trying to get on again. And is the other Michael able to hear us or speak, or he just on silent for the moment?
Michael's
There we go.
raising his hand.
Okay, there we go.
He's here.
Gotcha.
All right, we're gonna still wait. We'll wait for Mickey to try and sign back in. I would say we'll give it 18 minutes, or if you guys want to do less, whatever it is, maybe it's 7:30. If we still are having issues with getting a quorum because of technical issues, then we might have to call it. If you want, while we're waiting, if you guys, you guys can obviously, we got Mickey back and we got Michael back, so we have a quorum again.
Good.
Mickey's connecting, so let's see. Mickey, are you there? Michael, are you still having audio issues? Raise your hand if you're having audio issues.
Right.
All right.
I'm back on my cell phone.
All right, Mickey, I can hear you loud and
can.
clear. All right, so all right, so now we have a quorum again. This is the October 27th, 2022 regular meeting of the Board of Ethics. It's 7:14 p.m. We've been recording for a little bit, but we were getting in and out of a quorum because we're having technical issues. What we'll do is I'll just introduce Michael Church is our chair, and he's having audio issues, but he is here. And then if everyone else can just, state your name for the roll call, we'll do that.
Geraldo Williams.
Starting with Geraldo or Mickey.
Okay, Geraldo Williams. Here.
And go ahead.
Mickey Colazar.
And Pat.
Patricia Agudo here.
Pat, is this your first meeting, official meeting?
First official meeting, I believe. I think
Right.
we might have had one quick one in June, but can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think
But this
we ever
is
got off
the first
grounds.
official meeting, yes.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is, the first thing we have to do is, oh, I'm on the wrong one, hold on. The first thing we have to do is, so we don't have any introductions. Are there any members of the public? Are there any members of the public that would like to speak? I'm looking, just for the record, there's 7 participants and everyone is either a member of the board myself or Telesco, the reporting service. So I don't have any participants. So if someone on the board can just indicate that they would close public participation, seeing as we have no public here to speak.
I would so move that we close public participation.
Okay, so it's been a while since our last meeting. So what I'm gonna do is, the next thing we have to do is we have to hold on one second. I want to make sure I put the right thing up. I think it's this.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Michael. So the
Mhm.
next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna review the Board of Ethics meeting minutes from May 26th of 2022. And so Pat, you are correct. You were at that meeting. So this is actually your second meeting. So we have a quorum, and we have Michael, Pat, and Mickey and Geraldo. So all four members that are here tonight were also there. So if all of you could take a look at the meeting minutes and let me know if there's any changes that need to be made.
So just you can hear me, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I didn't have I had audio where I could hear you guys. Obviously now you can hear me, which is great. I can't see for whatever reason, so I
Right.
called in on the phone,
Right.
which is how you can audio hear me. So I did review the minutes before, so I motioned to approve, but I'm gonna need you guys to lead and be my eyes tonight, and then I'll just be here verbally.
Sure. Does anyone have any changes that need to be made to the minutes before we vote on approving them?
No changes.
No change.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a
Michael
motion
makes a
to
motion to
approve the
approve.
minutes of the May 26th, 2022 meeting of the Ethics Board.
And how do all the board members vote in favor of that motion made by Pat? Just say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
All right, so that's unanimous.
Aye.
So those minutes of May 26, 2022 with no changes, the updated, because there are no changes, the version that's already up on the website will remain. So those are already posted. Let me go back and take a look and see what's next. So the next thing is, there's nothing under old business. So under new business, discuss Board of Ethics draft slides concerning education and training programs for the city and its officers and employees under new business. This is the slides that had been worked on before by everybody. And in the at our last meeting in May, everyone had been assigned a pod. So I'll read everyone's pod out to each other. So perhaps we can determine whether. So Michael was going to work on sections 32.1, 32.2, and 32.4. Mickey was going to work on sections 32.7, 32.8, and 32.16. Our former member Cara Murphy worked on 32.12 and 32.17. And pod 4, they indicated, would be created by Lori Toronto and Geraldo Williams. We have, as attached to this agenda, the work that was done by Cara Murphy on 32.17 and 32.12. 32.17 is fairly short. 32.12 is quite lengthy. And then we have the other sections that were worked on by others on the board. I'm not going to go through them all again. I just remember Cara because she only had 2 and she had the really large one, which was 32.12. How does the board want to go about reviewing these specific slides? There's a lot there. We're missing Lori tonight. So is this something that that people want to look at after we exit the meeting and then provide comments that can then be added in by the person who created those slides, and then new slides can be sent to me for the next meeting? Because I don't believe we've gone through any real edits or revisions of these slides.
Brian, in the attachments, is there a simple section that's one slide or one page that might be just easy to
Yes.
review and sign off on?
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me pull it up.
So
where is
maybe
it?
we try to tackle one or two easy things to just build some momentum,
Sure.
and then get into the ebb of it, and then go from there with the larger stuff at home and bring it back for our next meeting.
All right, so I'm trying not to make everyone dizzy here. All right, so I'm sharing the screen, Michael, and the first one is 32-17, representation of respondents by the city. This is one of the ones that Cara did. It's one slide. As everyone can see, 3212 is the next page. It's just one slide. And so this concerns legal counsel representing somebody, I guess, during an ethics complaint. And everyone can take a look at it. And when everyone's done, I can read to Michael, or I can just read it now so that everyone can see it and Michael can get it in real time.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, since it's one slide.
Sure. So it says representation by legal counsel. That's kind of like the subject line heading, so people know what we're talking, so they know what they're talking about when they're looking at this slide. The complainant and respondent will be represented by legal counsel at their own expense. That's pretty clear that if you bring a complaint or you're responding to a complaint, that you're going to have to retain your own counsel if you want to have counsel represent you. The next section says, if the hearing board finds the respondent did not violate the code, the Board of Ethics may recommend to the Common Council that the respondent's reasonable legal expenses be reimbursed, all or in part. So basically, if the respondent is found not to be at fault, that person can make the Board of Ethics can make a recommendation to the Common Council that either a portion or all of their legal expenses be covered. And the Common Council reimbursement is discretionary and subject to the availability of funding, meaning even if the Common Council finds that the respondent was wrongly accused and believes that they should be reimbursed, again, there might not be funds. And so they might say, we don't think you should be reimbursed, or we think you should be reimbursed and we're going to. We think you should be reimbursed, but we're only going to do part. We think we should be reimbursed and you should get everything. Or we think you should get reimbursed all or in part or total, but we don't have any funds to give you. So there's all those potentials. But basically the long and short of it is, if you bring a complaint or defending a complaint, you can get your own counsel at your own expense, and potentially a respondent could have their legal expenses totally or partially covered by the Common Council if they're found not to be at fault. That's the extent of all of this. I don't see any changes that I would make to this slide, but I'm happy to hear any comments from somebody else.
It's Michael. If you go back to that first paragraph that you read,
Yeah.
and it says, I think it said something along the lines of the complainant and the respondent will be represented by legal counsel.
Should be
Should
may.
we add a word that says has the option to be represented?
Or we could just say may. May is discretionary.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know that I have. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I think I might have. Cara's original slides that I might be able to work off of, but let me just take notes on this. Section 3217, first sentence, change to may be represented by legal counsel. Change
And
to
is that at their own choice,
may
correct?
be represented by legal counsel. Let me just see if there's any, let me put this up side by side because I'm having issues here. All right, so it says, yeah, so it would read the proposed change would be the complainant and the respondent may be represented by legal counsel at their own expense.
And at their own choice, correct?
Right, so the
But
complainant,
that's what may implies, but
yeah, we know what we'll do. Why don't we say may, and then in parentheses, I'll put has the option. So it'll read the complainant and the respondent may, and then in parentheses, has the option to be represented by legal counsel.
And
Well,
I'm
no,
in
has-
part reminding myself of this by speaking, is we have the Citizens Guide and we have the code
Yep.
as the written thing. This slideshow that we're going through, we will in theory be presenting.
Yes,
So they will get our ad libs. It's not that they're just going to get the slides without our context. This is for the purpose of us presenting, whether it's to staff, whether it's to elected officials. So this is more for our notes
Yeah.
and or a YouTube video where this will be there, but we will be talking over it.
Right.
So it's not to recreate the Citizens Guide or the Code of Ethics. Excuse me.
Yep.
But now I just reminded myself that we'll be there to talk through the nuance, just like Brian just did, so they don't have to interpret, the bullet points. We'll
And-
be
and
adding
just
in
so-
that you have the option.
Yeah, and just so everyone's clear, and the Board of Ethics would never admit or deny that there's an ethics complaint filed. So I'm talking about a hypothetical situation. In a hypothetical situation, if somebody had an ethics complaint filed against them by somebody, unless I have a conflict, I would provide information to the complainant and the respondent about the path that is going to be before them. And at that point, I can provide them with an interpretation, not legal guidance, but an interpretation of what they can and what they may do. And at that point, I could advise them in a hypothetical situation, you have the right to pursue this complaint by yourself or with legal counsel, or you have the right to defend yourself by yourself or with legal counsel, but it would be at your own expense. So on top of us providing the information in the code, in the Citizens Guide, in this verbal explanation with this slide, so people can hear you, whoever is giving the presentation would be able to explain it with the slide in front on probably on a 5-minute YouTube clip. Then if hypothetically a complaint were to be filed, I would be providing them with some, basic information. And one of them would be, you have the right to legal counsel if you so choose, but it's your expense. So there's many safety, I guess, safeguards, safety rails, guardrails. This is just an example of that. So I think May might be sufficient here.
That's fine. That's just my HR specificity that comes to play.
So that, again, that was I think that was a pretty easy one. I can try to find another one that's pretty short. I'm sure there's another one. Just bear with me 1 second. I have to find it. And I'm going to share the screen again so you can see. That's just my email where I'm writing myself notes so I don't forget about it. 3212, forget about it. It's, as you can see, very lengthy. It's also the largest provision. Let me flip this because I think some of them, oops, hold on. 32.7, as you can see, which is the next one, is a couple slides. It's like a couple. 32.8 is probably not another good one to do tonight. As you can see, it's a couple slides. 32.16 is another one that we could probably look at. It's only one slide, if that's one you guys are interested in looking at.
Yeah, let's give 3216 a shot.
Okay. Let me just write that down in case you
Mickey,
guys
are
have
you still there?
comments.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I just want to make sure. Thanks. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to share the screen again, Michael, and I'll just go through everything. And please, if anyone has a question or a comment as I'm going through it, just stop me. So 32.16, I'm reading it out loud for everybody, but really for Michael. 32.16 of the code is about incurring of costs by the Board of Ethics and its staff, namely the law department, unless, again, outside counsel is retained. The first paragraph says the Board of Ethics shall be authorized to incur costs for providing education and training programs for the city and its officers and employees. So again, kind of the process that we're going through right now. The Board of Ethics shall also be authorized to incur costs for investigating and prosecuting any alleged ethics violations and in responding to requests for advisory opinions, both subject to the city's annual budget. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that first paragraph?
I don't.
I'm good with it.
Mickey or
Fine.
Pat?
Fine
I'm
with me.
fine. I'm fine with it.
Okay. The second paragraph is about the Board of Ethics shall seek an annual appropriation to be used to cover such costs during the year, and may also seek increased appropriation if necessary to carry out its responsibilities. Does anybody have any issues with that paragraph?
No,
No,
I
The
do not.
next section, the law department of the city shall assist the Board of Ethics in implementing its responsibilities and shall serve as staff to the board and to any hearing board appointed under the code.
This is why we appreciate having Brian. Thank you. so
That's
much.
right. No comment, but it's fine.
I'm the best kind of lawyer, I'm
Yeah.
free.
What about-
Um,
This just speaks to the hearing board. What about the investigative committee?
So let me take a look at section 3216 of the code. Hold on one second. It's a good question, Mickey. Just take a second to pull it up. Good catch, Mickey.
Hmm.
I'm going to share the screen so that not only can everyone hear, but any member of the public who sees this later on can see this. I'm pulling up the Code of Ethics. It's section 3216. Subsection B is what we're looking at right now. This is the question that Mickey raised. The law department shall assist the Board of Ethics in implementing its responsibilities under this code and shall serve as staff to the board and any hearing board appointed under this code. The Board of Ethics in appropriate circumstances may retain independent counsel to represent the board, any investigating panel, or any hearing board. So I believe implicit in this subsection is that not only is the law department assisting on the hearing board, but would assist in any investigating panel as well. Because obviously that's the first step in the complaint process. Could this section have been written a little bit better? Probably, to include that. But I think if you're looking to the intent of what we're talking about here, it's saying that the board can retain independent counsel to represent the board, investigating panel, or hearing board. So if they're retaining independent counsel, if they choose not to retain independent counsel, then it would be the law by default, it would be the law department doing that. So
Yes, yes.
let me go back to, I'm going to share the screen again.
I know.
And let me go, good catch, Mickey. I'm going to go share the screen again. And so we're back here at 3216. And so the law department shall assist and serve as staff to the board and to any investigating panel or hearing board appointed under this code. Is that sufficient for everybody?
Sounds good to me.
Right,
Yeah,
let
me
me,
too. That next bullet point kind of covers what we were just talking about.
Yeah, I think we
But
need to make the one
in-
above it more clear though. So 3216, third paragraph. Let me just move it over here.
I keep forgetting that this is being recorded, and if you want to look at it next week or the week after, you can see it on TV, which I didn't realize until one day I was channel surfing and I go, wait a second, that's Brian and such.
How did he get on television? Let's turn it
Yeah.
off. All right, so maybe represented by counsel is what we're changing. Well, may, I think is the thing we're changing there. So let me just highlight that so I don't forget that. And then it's investigating panel is the word that we're adding there in 3216. Let me save that before I lose it. All right, let me see. And again, I don't know who did 3216. I know it wasn't Cara. So if somebody did 3216, if they could forward it to me in I guess it would be a PowerPoint. Whoever did it, so that I can make the amended change for the next meeting.
Yeah, we did it so long ago.
Now
I don't know
that,
if I did it or not. I can go back to my folder that's not here with me now at home, but in the office, and I can check.
Yeah, what I'll do is I will take a look tomorrow morning. And if I can figure out who did it, I'll send you guys an email and just say, can you send it to me? All right, so let me just rotate this so we don't get nauseous.
Yeah,
looking at
okay,
this
just
upside
a
down.
second, though. I want us
Yep.
to note that last bullet point on that
Yep.
slide that
right, hold on.
further emphasizes what the change you just made.
Sure, hold on one second. You're right. I didn't even think I read the last one. Bear with me. Good catch, Pat. The fourth paragraph in 3216 slide, this is the last paragraph on the page. The Board of Ethics, in appropriate circumstances, may retain independent counsel to represent the board, any investigating panel, or any hearing board. And again, good catch by Pat and good catch by Mickey. I would argue that the true purpose of this section in the code is that the law department serves as staff unless there's the need for independent counsel, in which case you guys will go out and retain independent counsel. And so if independent counsel isn't doing that job, then it would have to be the law department by default. So I think we want to make these things consistent, and we might want to go back and think about amending 3216 in the code at some point to make sure that that's accurate as well and consistent. Does anybody have any issues with the fourth paragraph on 3216?
No, I don't.
No,
Just going to stop sharing the screen for a second. And we'll go to the next one. We'll see if we can find another short one here. All right. Let's just, so 32.7 has a couple pages here. 32.8 has a couple pages here. Do we have duplicates here? We do, we have duplicates. All right, so we have two 32.16, someone each did it, but we've already approved the other one. If you want, we could take a look at this one, but I think the other one is clear with the separate bullet points.
If we already are good with one and approve the one, I think we could disregard the second.
All right, so we'll skip that one. Let me just go back and see what page it's on so I don't screw up and do the wrong one. It looks like it's on page 26. I'm just going to stop sharing the screen for a second and indicate that I see page 26. All right, let me see if I can find another one here. All right, so 32.7 is a couple pages. Let's see if 32.8 is a couple pages. We're skipping that one, 32.16. 32.9 has a lot of things. I think we have another winner here. We have 32.10 and 32.11. I think they're only one page each. Do you want to do those two as well?
Yes.
Do it.
So 32.10 is about subsequent employment, Michael. It says an officer or employee, and those are defined terms. So if somebody's, this is such a brief section that if somebody's doing this, this Zoom video for this particular one, it might be helpful to just remind people the quick definition of officer or employee, but those are defined terms. And an officer or employee shall not solicit future employment with any person who has a substantial matter pending before the agency. Does anybody have an issue with that line right there?
No, I don't.
be clear, no.
A matter is substantial if it involves a financial value of $1,000 or more, or involves a question of significant public policy for the city.
I think that
Does there
covers what
need-
substantial is.
Yeah,
So again, I mean, I know some people, when you get to, if this were to be a live presentation in front of a group of people, I think you would get questions about what is a significant public policy. And the problem that you run into whenever we're talking about the code of ethics is that you're not going to be able to legislate every single scenario here. And so the issue is that it's incumbent on the person, the employee, the official, whatever, appointed or elected, that if something doesn't feel right, at a minimum, they should either recuse themselves or they should ask for an advisory opinion. So that's the de facto default if you were to do this in person, which we're not going to be doing. But it's helpful to put in there, if you can, in certain situations where it might be a little bit gray, like significant public policy, to say that if you're unsure, you should either request an advisory opinion or perhaps think about it further or recuse yourself. Just because
Should we
there is
put
no
at the
black or
bottom
white
of
answer
that-
a lot of the time.
At the bottom of that slide or subsequent slide, where it's applicable, should we put that, asterisk of if you're unsure, you should recuse yourself and or request an advisory opinion?
So what I would say, and I agree, Michael, what I would say is this. If we're quite honestly, at the end of every little, what I think is the most helpful thing is for us to do like a grouping. I think somebody should do 32.4 and end it. Then a separate one is 32.5. So this way they're shorter bites, so people don't feel exhausted by the end of it. But perhaps the de facto should be at the end of every single thing before you sign off to say that if you believe you have if an ethical situation has arisen, that you should reach out to the law department and request an advisory opinion from the board, so that it's not just a one-timer where it's said once and then people might forget it. If it's being said at the end of every single thing, it's kind of like the disclaimer at the end of the ad, then perhaps it might resonate with people a little bit more that hey, they keep on reminding me about this after every single
Mhm.
video. And I don't think a lot of people know about the advisory opinion. So it might be helpful at the end of every video to say that, if everyone agrees with that.
I agree with that, but that's what I would do normally in these and other types of investigations.
And Brian, to your point, which I also agree with, is in the presentation, provided this is on our YouTube channel or something, have each slide be its own presentation. Some might be a minute to 2 minutes if it's the one slide. Some might be 10 minutes. But this way it's easier for folks to absorb. But in the off chance that they only look at the one slide, if there's a disclaimer or that, we finish each slide that way, then they'll definitely hear the ask for an advisory opinion, et cetera, no matter what. So I think that's the way to go.
All right. So
32.
does anyone have any, you guys want to, so you've already voted to make changes to 32.16 and a change to 32.17. Does anyone have any changes on 32.10 before we move on?
I have a question on that second part on 32.10.
Yep.
Is that where it says that it matters substantially if it involves a financial value of $1,000 or more?
Yep.
So that sounds like a low threshold that we're asking people not to apply for a job for any institution that's doing a business worth $1,000 with the city. I mean, that seems like it's almost like it would not work for anybody.
Geraldo, what would you think that number should be, Geraldo?
Well, it's in the code.
What's that?
It's in the code.
Okay, the $1,000 is in the code.
It's in the code.
And I'm still saying it seems like an incredible thing to try to ask someone not to look for a job by some institution that's doing $1,000 worth.
Well,
I mean, I guess the point is that you can recuse yourself from the situation, and that I think absolves the problem. One, two, I don't know how many times we have somebody, and maybe it happens. Maybe I'm being naive. Maybe I just think that I don't know how many times it would come up that somebody is potentially leaving the city to go to somebody that's actually got business in front of the city at that particular time in front of their particular
Geraldo, it's not to deter people from seeking outside employment. It's to deter somebody that's residing over a private company approving a big project and then getting hired by them subsequently after the project's approved. So the circumstance, we're not limiting employment opportunities by public sector folks on a normal basis. We're just specific to the example of, planning and zoning is approving a huge development, and then the private developer that just had the development approved hires them as a consultant or something.
So,
And that's
yeah, so it really jumps, so 3210 and 3211 kind of jump together, Geraldo. And
Yeah,
I think your concern, so first of all, the 3210 is a very limited situation where somebody is soliciting employment from an entity or a company that has a substantial matter pending before the agency for which the officer serves. So you would have to be applying for a job at the time that the thing is pending. And if that's the case, you should recuse yourself. And that's really limited. I think that's a really limited situation. And again, it's what we're telling people to do. It's in the code. So if we have an issue with this, we have to go back to the code and make a change.
But go ahead, Geraldo.
no, so I'm strongly in favor of having a policy that prevents people from, applying for a job or a contract with some institution that's doing business representing a large figure with the city. But what I was questioning though is that then it comes and it says substantial is anything that involves a financial value of $1,000 or more. So what I'm saying is that $1,000 is such a low threshold that
Yep.
to tell somebody you should apply for a job because this company sold, $1,000 worth of paper clips with the city.
Yeah. So I guess my response would be is that what we don't want in the city is we don't want there to be an appearance, actual or an appearance of impropriety.
I
And
agree.
so if someone were to ask me what to do in that situation as an officer or employee, what I would simply say to them is, if you're an officer, if you're an elected or appointed official, recuse yourself immediately and have nothing to do with that decision. Get put up a wall from the time it starts until the time it's done. And then you don't have an issue going to get that job because while it's pending, you're not making the decision. And if you're an employee, it's very easy. Well, I shouldn't say it's very easy, but most departments have the power to assign a specific assignment to somebody else. Again, you get into an uncomfortable situation where you have to go to your boss and say, well, I'm actually, I can't take this because I'm actually applying for a job there. But I think the easiest way to avoid this situation, I don't think it happens very much, one, and two, the easiest way to do it is to either recuse yourself if you're an official or an officer, or put up a wall and have nothing to do with the entire process so that nobody can prove, if you're asking me for the opinion, you want to make sure that there is no evidence whatsoever that you had anything to do with this entity or company going through the process of getting this while you're applying for a job there. And if you have completely walled yourself off from it, then I don't think there's any impropriety there. In fact, you're trying to do the right thing for yourself and the city by not allowing this either actual or apparent impropriety to go forward.
So fine, like I said, I think the concept is a worthy concept. My whole thing was around the $1,000. It just seems
Right.
like,
So does,
and if that's
so-
already in
yeah.
the code, I just think the $1,000 seems like it's an unrealistic burden to place in front of anyone.
Yeah, no, I understand that it's a low threshold. I just don't know how much it actually comes up that an employee is leaving to
Yeah.
go to a company where there's something pending in front of them. Does anybody have any issues besides the $1,000, or can we go on to subsequent employment?
On to the next.
I have no issue. I would just like to state that I think the $1,000 threshold almost is reinforcing the seriousness of taking another position if there's something before the city. So in that way, if I'm looking at it that way, that it is more preventative and as we train people, that's something they'll notice, that as Geraldo has noticed,
Right.
you can stress
A
that.
lot
So
of these
Yeah.
tie together.
They do.
One could argue that this would also be a conflict of interest because you have a personal.
Hmm.
I mean, under the conflict of interest provision, it doesn't even have to be you. It could be, hey, company A is coming in front of my board, but my brother is about to apply for a job there or is applying for a job there. And if I give them this contract, my brother's going to get it. I mean, I think that this is like, it doesn't happen very often. It's a very limited situation. And this is only limited to officers or employees. The conflict of interest provision almost swallows this provision on its own because it involves people that are living in your household. It's very expansive. I don't know how
I
everyone
know,
else
we've
feels
had a
about that.
few things, right. I'm okay with this to move on.
Yeah, let's head to the next section.
Okay, I think that I think it's important that whoever does conflicts of interest, that's going to be a big one. That's probably going to take just as long as 3212, which is probably the largest of our provisions. It's going to take a while to get through that. That one's the conflict of interest provision is going to be a beast. And I think we're going to have the most questions about it, quite honestly. More so than any other paragraph, any other section, regardless of size. 3211 is kind of, I think is kind of linked into this. It's subsequent employment. And again, the last one, as we read 3210, I was wrong, is negotiation of future employment. This is subsequent employment, which is section 3211 for Michael. Individuals who has served, it should probably individuals who have served. Let me just make that change. Bear with me. Individuals. All right, so 3211 have served. And again, I will send out emails to whoever did these sections so I can, make those changes. I'll bring it back up in a second. I was just trying to make that change. All right, individuals who have served as an officer or employee shall not, within 1 year after termination, assist any person other than the city for monetary or other valuable compensation. Does anybody have an issue with that?
Question, does termination cover resignation in addition to potentially being fired? Does the term
Let me
termination-
pull up 3211
Good
and
point.
let me
It
pull up
sounds-
3211.
Usually does, but
So again, these were transcribed by you guys, by members. So I can't get it up right now, so let me read you 3211. This is from the code. Any individual who has served as an officer or employee, or hold on one second. I think, well, okay, yeah, so an individual who has served as an officer or employee shall not, within 1 year after termination of his or her service, assist any third party for monetary or other valuable compensation before the agency for which the officer or employee served or was employed in any manner. I would argue it is not clear, but I would argue that termination would involve resignation.
easy to edit if we want to, or we cannot because it's not stated in the
We
code.
can't change the code itself. We're not
We-
changing the code itself right now.
Yeah.
Right, the
This is just-
code would,
so when
if
we're
you wanted to
presenting it,
change,
though-
yeah,
Oh, no, when we're presenting it, and so these bullets are for us to read and then fill in the blanks. So when we're presenting it, we can say that when your employment terminates, whether you get fired or you resign within a year, blah, blah, blah.
so
And
I would
so-
argue that terminate includes firing and resignation. Again, we can't legislate everything. Michael's right, we can emphasize what our opinion is, and again, your opinion matters because you guys are the fact finders, you're the judge and the jury if ever there was a complaint to be filed. But again, termination means to end, and to end is either resignation or firing. That's how I would argue it. That would be my interpretation. Could it be cleaner to say termination, including but not limited to resignation or firing? Yes. But that's kind of
Well, I
where we
think
are.
we don't need to
That's-
Mhm.
adjust it.
Voluntary,
I don't think-
involuntary, there could be a staff
Yeah.
reduction, you know, you never know.
Right.
Not that normally
Yeah,
happens
no, I
in
was
this.
gonna say, I don't think we need to add
No.
it in the bullet itself.
I agree.
Right.
Because again, we have the citizens guide and the actual code itself for the detail. This is for us presenting and giving us notes to present from.
Does anybody
so
have an
that's
issue
good,
with
I
that
think.
first paragraph before we go on to the second one?
So I have a question with that first paragraph, because when I'm reading it like that, it's saying can assist anyone or any person, even if the person wasn't related to the city. How does this compare to what the code says? Because just reading this by itself is saying that you
Sure.
can't help anyone. I
Sure.
don't know what it would be controlling there.
Right, so it says an individual, this is the code. An individual who has served as an officer or employee shall not within 1 year after termination of his or her service assist any third party for monetary or other valuable compensation before the agency for which the officer or employee served or was employed in any manner in which said employee or officer participated personally or substantially during his or her service with the city. No
Yeah.
agency, this is the subsection B, no agency shall employ any individual who has served as an officer or employee during the preceding 12 months on, or any immediate family member of an individual who has served during the preceding 12 months.
Well, so that second part you read is the second bullet here with the 18 months, or that's from the first bullet too?
No agency shall employ.
So when I'm looking at the first bullet, focus on the first bullet.
Yep.
It doesn't even tie it into companies doing business with the city, saying you couldn't take any or be involved in any activity where there's involved compensation. So that's not even consistent with what's on the code. This is saying that you can't help anyone. Says individuals who have served as an officer or employee shall not within 1 year after termination assist any person other than the city for monetary or other valuable compensation.
So,
That's not
so
what the code
again,
is saying.
I think this subsection is going to have to do a rewrite
Yeah,
because Geraldo's right. The first part of the sentence itself seems to talk about the first part of it. So this is what the code says. An individual who has served as an officer or employee shall not within 1 year after termination of his or her service assist any third party or any person for monetary or other valuable compensation other than the city, because we're telling you that you can't come back to the city. So if you're working with the city after you leave, that's different.
yeah,
Before the agency for which that person served in any manner, if they participated personally and substantially. So again,
yeah.
what is
Like a
what is
1 year
in this bullet
non-compete.
point is not identical to what's in there.
That's
Again,
what
the
I'm saying.
person,
Yeah.
the person who's doing what I think would be helpful is if it's not going to be identical, if it's a short section and it's not identical word for word, then ensure that that whoever did this has to go back and make sure that this section needs to be reworked. So whoever did 3211 needs to come back and edit it so that it's a little bit more accurate, because the second paragraph, as Geraldo correctly pointed out, says 18 months. It's actually 12 months.
12 months.
So
Yeah.
3211
Right.
needs to be reworked.
Yeah.
And resubmitted. I'll send an email out to whoever did it afterwards. I'll try to find out who did it.
Is
And
there
then-
one more small section
Yeah.
for us to review now?
Yeah, let me see if time limit on complaints. Yeah, time limit on complaints is pretty short. We have 32, 14, and 15 are both 1 page each, Mike. Do you want to do those, Michael?
Well, let's do 14, and if it goes quick, maybe we'll do 15. If we drag
Okay.
14 out, then maybe we call it there.
All right, so time limit on complaints, it's section 3214 of the code. Except as provided in subsection B of this section, no allegation in a complaint of a violation of the code shall be ruled upon by the board if 6 months or more has passed between the time of the alleged violation and the filing of the complaint, meaning if you file it 6 months and 1 day after it happened, it's untimely. Does
Yeah.
anyone have a problem with that paragraph?
No.
I don't.
No, none of
Okay.
that's the code. Yeah.
In the event of a violation, in the event a violation or evidence has been actively concealed, such action shall have the effect of tolling this period of limitation during the period of said concealment until violation is discovered. So for example, hypothetically, somebody files an ethics violation and the board comes back and says it's untimely. And then the person comes back, the complainant comes back, and says, no, it's not untimely. The person deleted an email and I wasn't able to locate it for 2 months, so it's timely. That would be a situation where there was active concealment. Does anyone have a problem with the second part of this? Okay,
I don't.
The third-
Real quick.
Yep.
Hold on, real quick. I'm not looking at it, so you can easily trump me. It said, I think you said effective tolling the period.
yeah,
I'm not familiar with the word tolling.
it's
So
like a
is that after?
stay. It's like a stay. It almost like freezes it in suspended animation until the. I guess the best
My
way
only
to
recommendation would
put it
be
is
use a non-legalese word there.
yeah, it's kind of a legalese word, but I think
Mm.
if someone's making the presentation, you can say, and when the act of concealment freezes, it stops the time from running until the concealment is done. So
Covered.
for example,
Yeah.
if someone filed a complaint 8 months after the fact and it's untimely, but then they come back and they say, well, they concealed it for a month. The response is still it's untimely because it would be 7 months and not 6 months. So it depends on how long the concealment almost freezes it in time. Again, very difficult to prove, but we wanted to put it in there. It's in the code. We wanted to put it in there. I did skip over a minor bullet point. In the event of multiple violations, if someone's making multiple claims, the only ones that would be timely would be the ones that fall within the 6 months. So you could have 4 that were timely and 2 that are untimely. So 2 get kicked and 4 stay in. Does anyone have an issue with the first 4 bullet points? We only have 1 left on this section.
No, you can go to the last one.
And all I would say,
Oh,
just
sorry.
correct. Sorry, Mike.
I don't
Yep.
like the first bullet that says, except as provided in subsection B of this section,
Right.
because you don't see a subsection B anywhere. And if you were presenting this and somebody said, well, what is subsection B? You have to know that off the top of your head, which you might not.
Yeah, let me pull up 3214 and see what it says
Ricky,
here.
10 years into this, you haven't memorized every subsection and bullet point in this?
Okay, so I think what I think we can correct this very simply. And see if everyone agrees with this. Instead of saying except as provided in subsection B, we can say except if a violation has been actively concealed.
Hmm.
So instead of saying subsection B, except, so something like that, is that acceptable to people?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, let me just make that change real quick. That's something that I can get from somebody and make that change quickly. 3216, no,
Before you
not
move-
3214.
Before you move from there, Brian,
Yep,
on that slide, just minor things, but the no should be capital, the N should be capitalized. Then on the second bullet, it has filling instead of filing.
hold on 1 second.
3214.
Oh, you see, oh, okay, it's the second bullet point, filling, maybe?
Yes.
Okay, I see it. Good call, good catch, Harold.
Mm.
Hold on 1
And it-
second.
Above that too, the no should be, the N should be
Okay.
capitalized, the beginning of the bullet.
All right, so all right, so let's see. First paragraph,
The first line in the first bullet. the second
except in situations where active concealment has occurred. So that's the first issue.
Then
And then
no,
the third paragraph, change whoops,
Feeling.
filing to filing. All right,
And above that,
No,
at the bullet, the first letter after the bullet, the no, the N should be capital.
hold on one second, you're ahead of me, or let me get that. Where is that? Oh, no, so second paragraph,
Yeah,
second paragraph,
no allegation.
paragraph. Capitalize, no.
Yeah,
Oops. All right, let me just highlight that. All right, all right, so 3211 is going back to the person who drafted it for a rework. I will make the changes on 3217, 16, 10, and 14. I will reach out to those who did them if I can't access the document to get it in a format that I can amend. Bear with me one second. I'm trying to get the page number here, so I don't have to go looking for it. Let's see. $32.15 is extremely short. You want to power through one more? I
Well,
promise, it's short.
let's give it a shot.
All right, so 3215 is proposed revisions. The first paragraph says the Board of Ethics may propose revisions to the Code of Ethics to the Common Council. Does anyone have any issues with that?
Nope.
no,
To assure its continuing effectiveness, much like you guys, much like this board has done over the last couple of years to try and update the code. Any issue with that little paragraph sentence?
No.
To hold public hearings in its discretion on matters pertaining to the administration of the Code of Ethics. Much like we're going to be doing, obviously, it's a little bit different than a public hearing. But I think the first thing would be to make this available to officers or employees so that they can review all of these little presentations that are going to be made. And then possibly trying to do something more to the public at large. Because the Citizens Guide is great, but sometimes it's nice to hear with people who have been in the weeds to provide a little bit more. So 3215, it looks good to everybody.
so that second word in this 3215, is that ensure or assure? It's the word,
So,
should that be
back up.
assure or ensure?
I would say to ensure, EN,
Mhm.
so let's make
I
that change.
believe it is also. That's what I'm.
Yeah, so let's say chain, let's see, it's the second paragraph, right? Second paragraph.
Yeah,
I'll just put ensure.
and for correctness, those things should be capitalized, the first two in those, both of them should be capitalized too.
All right, 2 and 2. So second and third paragraph. Second paragraph. Paragraph 2 and third paragraph 2. Capitalize. All right. All right, so just for the record, let me just make sure to see what page this is, page 37 of the agenda. So what I'm going to do is I'll reach out on each of the sections. 3217, 3216, 3210, 3211, 3214, and 3215. I will make changes if I have them in formats to 3217, 16, 10, 14, and 15. If not, I'll reach out and ask for a format that I can work with. And 3211, I will send back and I'll send back to the person who did it so they can resubmit it. So at least at the next meeting, we can start with taking a look at the updated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've done 5 of them tonight where they're going to be changed and finalized. So you can see the final versions of those 5, and that will leave us with another 13 to do. And so we can kind of continue to chip away at this so that perhaps we can do all of these all of these recordings at the same time, if that's acceptable to everybody.
Yes, thank you all tonight for your participation and patience with technology. Brian, again, thank you for your
Yep.
stewardship and setting example for us. We appreciate it.
Okay, so,
You, Michael.
you know, my thought would be this. Obviously, if people, so all of the slides that I have are attached to this agenda, which is on the website. You know which ones we've already dealt with. I will try to get those out to everybody as soon as I get them in a workable format as quickly as possible. Perhaps amongst yourselves, you might want to maybe divide and conquer the remaining 13. So that somebody can say, hey, these are the changes that I think we should make. And then the other people can comment. We're not going to get through all 13 at the next meeting, but it might be helpful to say like, so like, for example, if we have a quorum and 4 people show up and let's say this next time Mickey isn't here and Mickey looked at 2 of them, it doesn't hamstring everybody else. We can go forward with the other ones that other people have looked at. And when Mickey comes back for the following meeting, we can do the ones that Mickey looked at. So I don't know, amongst yourselves, you might want to divide and conquer the other 13. Some of them will take longer than others. So if someone wants to take a look at 32.4, 32.12, that might be the only one you look at because it is quite large and it's going to take a lot of work. The other ones are a little bit smaller, more workable. And again, we're not going to be able to do them all at the next meeting. So maybe each person takes one and that's like 4 or 5 that you can do at a time. And maybe we can do the smaller ones first and work our way up to the bigger one, like 32.12 or 32.4. Again, talks amongst yourselves. I don't need to know in advance. Just when I submit the agenda, just let me know which ones we're going to be dealing with. So I might be able to hopefully be able to take a look at it in advance. So I'm at least not going on the fly.
And we do have a meeting for November.
I don't believe we
No,
do. Let me
January.
double
No,
check.
because I didn't think so. I thought that fell on Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Let me double
we
check.
take
So the
November
4th
and
meeting, the
December
4th
off.
meeting falls on Thanksgiving and the 4th meeting.
Okay, Michael, thanks.
All right. So theoretically, the next meeting would be the Thursday before Christmas. I think Christmas is on a Monday. So we could theoretically have a meeting in December if we have enough people showing up. So this gives everyone
Probably
plenty
not.
of time to look at. If you want to divide and conquer, there's 5 of you. It could be one person takes 32.12 and 32.4 and the rest of you divvy up the rest because they're so monstrous. But again, I think we could at least get another 3 to 4 done at the next meeting because I think people did a good job going through these. Plus, we already went through the citizens guide and everything. And if we can get through another 3 or 4, then we're halfway through basically at that point.
Yep.
Michael,
think
I would
that's
make
a good.
that you
Do
assign
the other. Good idea.
out an email and say, okay, Lori Toronto, you're going to do, 3217 or whatever the number is, and just assign everybody something.
So
Yep.
I just,
The way
Lou?
I'm going to do it, and I might reserve the right to adjust this, and if I do, I'll express it in email. Is I think I'm going to exclude 32.4 and 32.12
Yeah.
initially, and so that'll leave us with 11. And of those 11, if we each take 2 of the smaller sections, we can actually possibly pump out 10. Not to do all 10 at the next meeting, but it'll step us
have
in
your
the right
thoughts.
direction.
Mm,
Yeah, and help expedite it. And so I think that's what I'm going to do. And to Mickey, your point, I will do my best to equitably and randomly select those sections. So feel free to push back if you feel like you got the 2 worst, but initially I'm going to exclude. I mean, no, it will. But initially I'm going to exclude 32.4 and 32.12, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
just,
sounds like a great
Yeah.
plan.
Geraldo wanted
yeah,
to
just
say
gonna
something.
say, I worked on some with Lori and submitted them to Lori, and which were the part 4s, and I don't think or seen anything that has been submitted. So I should reach out to Lori and get what we did over to you, Michael, in a couple.
Yeah,
couple
You
days.
know, Geraldo, if you have for really, I'm going to go back and take a look at the ones we already looked at. But if everyone besides Pat, because I know Pat didn't go through this exercise, if
Yeah.
everyone has it in PowerPoint, as opposed to PDF, because I can't edit a PDF. I can amend PowerPoint or Word, however you guys did
Just
it.
send it a word or
Send it to me in that format, because then I can make the changes. For example, with the ones we've done tonight where there are changes being made, but they're finalized. If I have them in a workable format, I can make those changes without asking. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to ask for somebody to send it to me. And then I'll make those changes.
I think if we submit them in Word or Google Doc, you can always edit it.
Exactly, yeah. All
Because
right, cool.
Everybody
All right.
don't have a PowerPoint. It looks.
All right, it's a good start.
Yeah.
I will, when the changes are made to the ones that we finalized tonight, I will email it out to the board so that you guys have the finalized ones and you can put them aside and just worry about the other ones we haven't done yet.
Okay.
May
Thank-
everybody have a
Thank you.
healthy and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Halloween,
And,
everybody.
motion
Thank
to
you.
adjourn.
You too.
you too.
Yes, we got to get through the goblins
Good
before
that
that.
we're
Yeah,
finally
that's right.
get together.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Be safe.
Happy
Thank you.
Take care.
holidays.
care.
Take care.
Thank you to our stenographer as well.
Yeah. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.